pray. Kneeling low, hear what we say. Freedom calls in every tone. Faith is built on hearts of stone. Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp, they cut right through. Real talk for the soul's appeal. Prayers rise up the wounds they heal. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. Each step brings another fight. Breaking chains, we're seeking light. Voice of power won't be tamed. With His love, we're never ashamed. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. From the ashes we shall rise. Hope is found deep in our eyes. Every word a battle cry. With the Father none deny.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ARP in the Morning. I am your host, your humble host, Wise. I appreciate you guys pulling up, man. I hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed the weekend. It was nice. I was going to do a show yesterday, and I couldn't get myself out of bed, man. I was up late on Sunday, and it was, I just couldn't. So I was like, you know what? We're going to take the day. And I needed it. I definitely needed it. But I do appreciate you guys pulling up this morning. As always, shout out to PK Krillin, first person in the chat, first thing this morning. Shout out to him. And shout out to Kevin Caldwell. Thank you very much. And Miss Lori Otteson, sorry about that. Appreciate you pulling up this morning as well. Appreciate you guys. We got a pretty good show today. We're going to talk a little bit about Memorial Day. We're going to talk about Trump, down at West Point. What else? We're going to talk about the woke judge out there in Ohio. We're going to talk about the travesty that happened down in South Carolina with Larisha Thompson. We got a pretty good show. We got a pretty good show today. Since it is Tuesday, I guess we will do a call-in show as well. We'll open it up here in the near future, for call-ins. I'd love to hear from you guys and get your take, and hear what you guys, did over the weekend. Get your take on anything that we discussed today, or if you just have any questions in general. Shout out to Redefined Queen and Soul Driver and Zephyr K9. Shout out to the Blues. Appreciate you all pulling up. What up, K-Row 3? Cool Ramon. What's going on with you? Toy Mafia, Mark Galvin. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Scott Jung in the building. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. What up, JJ O'Hara? What up, Playboy Billy? How's it going this morning, brother? Hope all is well with you. What up, Big Job Ford? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Kiwan? Kawan. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, sister. Hope all is well with you. What up, Donald Lovejoy? What up, Baby Lungs? What up, Joseph Orsini? Hope all is well. What up, Dr. Mama? How's it going this morning? Thea Flies High, AK Bauer. What's going on with you? RJ Hudson. What up, Krista Knight? How's it going? Billy W. Appreciate you pulling up. Jane Fecto. Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Christy? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Regina Alongi? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. Who else we got up in here this fine Tuesday morning? What up, Mary D? What up, Coaster? How's it going this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Dion? How you doing this morning, sister? Hope you enjoyed the weekend. Who else we got up in here? We got Nelson. What's going on? Jason Picaro. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's going on? What up, Krista Knight? How's it going this morning? That dude, Big C. What's going on with you? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Hope all is well. All righty. Let's get the show kicked off, man. We're going to get things kicked off. Again, hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. Super chats will stop the show. Super thanks will stop the show. Anybody that joins the ARP family or anybody that gives an ARP family membership, that will stop the show as well. They will be acknowledged. Appreciate you guys pulling up as always. Make sure you hit that like button. We got 71 people up in here this morning. Hope all is well with you guys. Hope you enjoyed the weekend. What's up, Brittany Jordan, QC Politics and News? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Let's hit that like button for me. Like I said, super chat, super thanks will stop the show. Let's get it popping.
Every cadet on the field before me should savor this morning, because this is a day that you will never, ever forget. You could have done anything you wanted. You could have gone anywhere. You could have gone to any school. This is one of the hardest schools to get into. Instead of sports teams and spreadsheets and software, you chose a life of service. The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows, to transform foreign cultures, but to spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun. The military's job is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America, anywhere, anytime. West Point cadets don't just have the brightest minds, you also have the bravest hearts and the noblest souls. You're amazing people. I could not be more proud to serve you as your commander-in-chief. Each of you continues down the same hallowed path walked by titans and legends of U.S. military lore. America's Army has never failed us, and with leaders like the West Point class of 2025, the Army will never fail.
All right, so I want to kick things off, man. I want to start by just taking a moment to reflect on the history and significance of Memorial Day. A lot of folks, they use it. Obviously, it's a day off. Obviously, people use it as a time for family to get together. People use it, as an opportunity to, get out and play golf or play their favorite sports, get together for cookouts and things of that nature. But Memorial Day in itself, it has a very rich history that dates all the way back to the aftermath of the Civil War. And we'll get into Trump at West Point. There's a new report surrounding Kamala Harris and her interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper. We'll also, discuss some other things that happened over the weekend. There's a story that I definitely want to bring to you guys' attention as well that happened down in South Carolina. But first, I want to take a moment to honor our military personnel who have fought, who have died, or who served and who have passed away. And I want to take some time, to just pay homage or homage and respects to them. And Memorial Day itself, it's a great holiday. It really is, when you think about it. as someone who is a veteran, who comes from a long line of family members who were veteran, to include my great grandfather who fought in World War II, way back when. He's gone on to be with the Lord, but you know, it's one of those holidays that, people look at it as the day off, but I don't think a whole lot of people really think about the sacrifices that have been made to put us in a position that we are in today. Memorial Day, it was first observed on May 30th, 1868, following an order by General John A. Logan, the commander of the Grand Army of the Republic, the Union Veterans Organization. The purpose was to honor soldiers who died during the Civil War by decorating their graves with flowers. This act of remembrance was a way to pay tribute to those who made the sacrifice, during that time frame. And in those early years, the focus was primarily on Union soldiers. And a lot of folks may not know this, but this thing kicked off. You had Black Union soldiers who died, and that kind of helped to kick things off. And it just, kind of took off from there. But as the nation began to heal, from the wounds of the Civil War, the observance of it, it started to include Confederate soldiers as well. And this shift, reflected a move towards national reconciliation and a broader recognition of all those who had lost their lives in service. And by the end of the 19th century, Memorial Day had expanded to honor all American military personnel who died in any war, not just the Civil War, but in any conflict, any war, in this country. And this change was solidified after World War I, when it became a day to commemorate all those who had made the ultimate sacrifice in any conflict. And in 1971, Congress declared Memorial Day a federal holiday and moved its observance to the last Monday in May, creating a 3-day weekend that has since become associated with the unofficial start of summer. So yesterday was Memorial Day. It's been marked by parades, ceremonies at cemeteries, and moments of silence. And it's a time for families to gather and remember loved ones who have passed. But it's also a solemn occasion to honor the men and women who gave their lives while serving in the U.S. military. And as we, enjoyed the previous weekend and we enjoyed Memorial Day, let's make sure that we don't forget the actual reason, the true reason for the holiday itself. I think so many of us here in America, especially our young people, I think those of us, that are this age, we have an understanding. But I think a lot of our young people, they just hear Memorial Day, oh, day off. We don't have to go to school. Cookouts, things of that nature. But I think they need to be taught, the true reason behind the day itself. It's not just about barbecues and beach trips, pools opening, because Memorial Day, Memorial Weekend is normally the weekend that the pools open up. But it's about honoring the sacrifices of those who ensured our freedoms that we hold dear today. Now, as we honor these sacrifices, it's worth noting that the efforts made, this weekend to prepare for Memorial Day. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he was seen cleaning Vietnam veteran memorials ahead of the holiday. And of course, the media, they lost their minds over it. This act of respect, of remembrance, it's a stark contrast to the previous administration, and it really highlights a difference in approach, one that emphasizes direct engagement with our military heritage. Now, you guys got to think about it. It's a major difference from the current administration to the previous administration. I mean, obviously, we know, you have a lot of the Democrats out there that don't necessarily care for the nation in itself. When Easter came about, they actually held, Transgender Awareness Day or something along those lines. They've been, disrespecting a lot of the holidays that we hold dear here in this nation. But speaking of, our military heritage, President Trump recently, he delivered a commencement speech at West Point Military Academy. And it was a phenomenal speech. I don't know if you guys had a chance to hear it, but, what a difference makes, when in administrations. I want you guys to hear this for yourself. Um, I want you guys to take some time and just hear this little brief clip here, and then we're going to keep the show going.
Dead on the field before me should savor this morning, because this is a day that you will never, ever forget. In a few moments, you'll become graduates of the most elite and storied military academy in human history, and you will become officers in the greatest and most powerful army the world has ever known.
It's no fluff, just facts. Calling it the most elite and storied military academy reminds everyone of America's unmatched military legacy. I mean, it's a clear nod to patriotism. It's a clear nod to strength. Key pillars in his basis, in the basis pride. And in his speech, Trump wore a Make America Great Again hat and emphasized the need for the country to prioritize its own interests above anyone else. Above anyone else. And he said that gone are the days where defending every nation but our own was the primary thought. We are putting America first. We have to rebuild and defend our nation. This was his second address to the cadets at West Point, the first being during the C-19 pandemic. During that speech, Trump outlined several critical points. First, he eschewed diversity promotions, calling out what he described as divisive and demeaning political trainings at the academy. He justified his America First worldview by stating that the job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows, to transform foreign cultures, or spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun. The military's job here in the United States is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America. Anywhere, anytime, in any place. And you guys in the chat, is he wrong? I don't think so. As someone that served this nation, I was a part of 2 deployments, one before 9/11, one after 9/11. I understood what I signed up for. And I also understood what the job was. And during that time frame, we took really, really great pride in knowing that we're the best out here. And we worked our tails off. We worked our tails off to make sure that if a time ever came about, we'd be 100% ready. I knew people that were on the USS Cole. I don't know if you guys recall, what happened to the Cole, but the Cole was, it had a really big hole. It was bombed off the coast of Yemen. They were pulling out of Yemen, and, some guys and, little putter boats, got close up on the ship, and it basically blew up, put a really big hole in the ship. I think we lost 12 sailors during that incident. And people that I talked to that were on that ship, once they got it back to America, and they talked about how the training and how they got to business. Yes, they lost 12 people, and those were the people that were pretty much impacted at the blast site when it happened. They shored the ship up, and they made sure the ship made it back home. They shored the ship, and the ship made it back home. It did not sink. They couldn't sink it. Trump also, during that speech there, he touted a massive investment in a Golden Dome missile defense shield, aiming to protect the homeland and West Point itself. He mentioned a $25 billion plan to create 3 layers of aerial protection, a project that he intends to complete before leaving office. And there was one more. Shout out to Wendy with the $5 super chat. Says, I want to take a moment to say thanks all. I had a wonderful birthday and I'm giving you the credits for it. Awesome. I'm glad you had a good birthday. Thank you. But there's one thing clear, about this whole situation and everything that's going on right now that we're seeing in this country. And it's that we are absolutely back. We are in the beginning stages of what President Trump called the golden age or golden era of America. And I couldn't be happier, man. But Trump ended the speech commending graduates, saying that, they could have done anything that they wanted to. They could have gone into finance. Maybe they could have got one of those cushy office jobs. But instead, they chose a life of sacrifice and honor. And I don't know about you guys, but I, for one, am happy that we have a leader who stands with our armed forces. And one of the things that really stuck out to me, because everybody knows, the traits of a really good leader is someone who understands that they must serve the people who follow them. You lead by serving. That's what Jesus taught. When you get into the word and you get into the word of God, and especially when you get into the gospels and you hear, the works, of Jesus and the apostles, it was all about service. Yes, he was the leader, but it was all about service. And that's the beautiful thing. One of the beautiful things that I heard, there is that, like, hey, yes, I am the commander in chief, but I am here to serve you. And it's beautiful. I don't know if you guys really understand how important it is, when you have people out there that choose honor and sacrifice over stock options, over some other things to serve this nation. Those folks, man, they don't get the amount of respect that I believe that they deserve, to be honest with you. They just don't. But that's something that I think needs to change.
You on the field today is among the most talented members of your generation. You could have done anything you wanted. You could have gone anywhere. You could have gone to any school. This is one of the hardest schools to get into. And writing your own ticket to top jobs on Wall Street or Silicon Valley wouldn't be bad, but I think what you're doing is better. Instead of sports teams and spreadsheets and software, you chose a life of service, very important service, instead of stock options. And I do that stuff. It's sort of boring. Honestly, compared to what you're doing, it's real boring. You chose honor and you chose sacrifice. And instead of business suits and dress shoes, you chose muddy boots and fatigues, keeping yourself in shape. Because West Point cadets don't just have the brightest minds, you also have the bravest hearts and the noblest souls. You're amazing people.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate those that have a heart, and soul, despite, what the world tells you or the messaging of the moment, and I pray that, those boots never have to march again. This speech, this moment at West Point, it just reminds us that, this is the type of leadership that has been lacking. This is the type of leadership that is needed. Leaders who respect the military, who understand its purpose, who also prioritize our nation's defense over political correctness or divisive ideologies. We don't have, and nor do we need, DEI mandates here. We need, and we have real warriors, real men and women who are trained to protect and serve, not to be pawns in the cultural war. And again, as we reflect on Memorial Day, let's remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Their bravery, their dedication, and their love for this country, are the foundations of our freedoms. And to everyone who has served, I want to say thank you. If you have family members that have served, thank them. Thank them for me. Your service is not just remembered today, but every day. And it should. There should be a lot of respect for the men and women that have worn this uniform. And to those who continue to serve, if you have children that are currently serving, nieces, nephews, uncles, cousins, whoever, we also understand, your sacrifice, and it's seen and it's greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. There are young people right now in boot camp, right now. You know, I have my oldest son's currently serving in the military. My little cousin's currently in the Army right now. You know, one of my best friends, you know, he has 2 kids right now serving in the United States Navy right now. And you know, these are young people who made a decision, you know, to an extent, maybe follow dad's footsteps, but you know, to also jump out there and you know, to jump out there and be the change that they want to see. But let's keep the show going, man. I want to shift gears a bit to a significant moment from the past year that highlights the tensions within the Democrat Party and the media's role in shaping public perception. Last year, Vice President Kamala Harris found herself at the center of a controversy following a tense interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper. Now, if you guys recall, hey, DeJuan, my grandfather's, not my grandfather, but my great-grandfather served in World War II. And shout out to your grandfather and your cousin as well. My uncle served in Desert Storm. And, you know, I come from a long line. So did my cousin, one of my favorite cousins. He served in Desert Storm. He was in the United States Air Force. My uncle was a Marine, or actually once a Marine, always a Marine. So he's a Marine. And he's a lot of reason why I joined the Navy, because he told me, don't join the Marine Corps. Go join the Navy. You're too smart for that. And then I ended up being on a ship around a bunch of daggone Marines, because that's all we did. I was on an amphibious assault ship. That's all we did was tote Marines around wherever they needed to be. So, hey, what can I say? But in reference to Kamala Harris, if you guys recall, how many softball interviews did she do during the election season last year? When she finally got the nod, she got tons of softball interviews, and she wasn't prepared, you know, for somebody to push back, at least on her side of things. And the interview that she did with Anderson Cooper, it came in the wake of President Biden's, you know, debate performance, which raised serious questions about his cognitive abilities and the future of the Democrat ticket. And now, former Vice President Kamala Harris finds herself in a tough spot under scrutiny, not just for what she said, but for what she knew. There's a growing backlash over her past statements defending Joe Biden's cognitive abilities, especially after a new book that just came out by CNN's Jake Tapper and Politico's Alex Thompson, which revealed just how long insiders were aware of Biden's decline. And this backlash is not just about the interview itself, but about the broader narrative of transparency and accountability within the Democratic Party. Now, people on the other side of things, you know, people in the Democratic Party, they can be upset with Trump. They cannot like his policies. You know, they cannot like some of the things that are happening, but what they can't say is he's hiding. They can't say he won't speak to the media. They can't say that he's not being as transparent as he can possibly be. And to an extent, for some, he might be too transparent. He might be too transparent for some. But in Tapper's book, The Original Sin, it suggests that Harris and others were aware of Biden's cognitive decline much earlier than the public realized, raising questions about her role and decisions that were made during that critical period. But anyway, here's that interview in question. I want you guys to check it out, take some time and look at this for yourself. But this is the interview that happened right after the Biden-Trump debate that happened in June, towards the end of June. Excuse me. And I covered this when it happened. I covered the interview. But this lady is so full of it, man. Hey, a lot of times, you know, they used to tell you, you know, when you tell a lie, you got to tell 3 or 4 lies to cover up that first lie, and you never stop until you come clean. And what's in the dark, it always comes to the light. It always does.
Panic inside the Democratic Party right now because of President Biden's performance in tonight's debate. He's been hearing from Democratic lawmakers and others around the country. Some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
Listen, first of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all of the issues that matter to the American people. Yes, there was a slow start, but it was a strong finish. And what became very clear through the course of the night is that Joe Biden is fighting on behalf of the American people, on substance, on policy, on performance. Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong. And
but I'm sorry,
that
on
cannot
substance
be
and
debated.
policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance.
Shout out to Kiwan Lynette. Thank you for the $5 super chat. She says, think about it. If they're allegedly willing to cover this up, what else do they know about? Absolutely. Absolutely. And Pete, shout out to Pete real fast. He said his cousin CW4 Clifton Walcott was shot down in Somalia and killed when his Black Hawk was hit by an RPG. Rest in peace to your cousin, man. Rest in peace to your cousin, and thank him for and thank you and your family, for his service. Oh, snaps.
Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong. And
I'm sorry,
that
on
cannot
substance
be
and
debated.
policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance. One said it was a disaster. Another called it a train wreck. Those are Democrats especially worried that Biden did not punch back on Trump's lies.
Listen, people can debate on style points, but ultimately this election and who is the president of the United States has to be about substance. And the contrast is clear. Look at what happened during the course of the debate. Donald Trump lied over and over and over again, as he is wont to do. He would not disavow what happened on January 6th. He would not give a clear answer on whether he would stand by the election results this November. He went back and forth about where he stands on one of the most critical issues of freedom in America, which is the right of a woman to make decisions about their own body. He has been completely ambiguous and all over the place about where he stands on that issue, despite the fact that he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and that's exactly what they did. And just 3 years ago, we commemorated the 2-year anniversary of Dobbs, wherein women across our country have been denied emergency health care,
All that may be true. All that may be true. But the president of the United States was not able to make that case to Donald Trump on the stage tonight. I mean, you debated against then Vice President Vice President Biden 4 years ago, and he was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. That's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A president who is...
Shout out to True Texan with the $2 super chat. Says, I'll sweep it under the rug, but you will trip over it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the controversy in question, it's related to this interview from last year. There are reports out now that says that the vice president, Kamala Harris at the time, tore into CNN's Anderson Cooper, calling him a MFer, slamming him for not treating her like the dang vice president. She allegedly vented to her colleagues after their interview, where Cooper pressed her about Biden's cognitive abilities following his disastrous June debate performance. Now, this all comes as Jake Tapper's new book is out detailing Biden's cognitive decline, and we spent a lot of time on the channel criticizing Tapper, who helped to cover it all up all these years. He was a part of the cover up. Now he's going to profit off of the cover up now. But anyway, the book details the lead up to Biden's June debate with Trump, claiming that Biden's performance ranged from bad to passable. That's what they said. Bad to passable. They said his voice was hard to hear, his delivery, it was halting, and his answers, they were all over the place. And if any of you guys had a chance to watch the debate itself, his answers were definitely all over the place. Remember, they killed Medicaid. Shout out to Pete with the $10 super chat. Says, thank you guys for the shout out to my cousin. And thank you for your service. Thank you guys for the shout out to my cousin. And thank you for your service. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the super chat as well. Thank you very much. But this situation is ridiculous, man. Because they know he was all over the place. They knew this going into it. And according to the authors, when talking about the mock debates, they knew that this dude didn't have a chance. They were hoping. They pushed that dude out there on a wing and a prayer, hoping that some kind of way. I know they don't pray to God. I know they don't, because these people, they're probably atheists. But they were praying to somebody, hoping that some kind of way he would do just good enough. Just good enough to get through this. They had advisors out there. They apparently told Biden that his mouth was agape when he wasn't speaking and urged him to close his mouth. Now, if you think back during that time frame, how many pictures or videos did we see with him sitting there with his mouth open, just staring off into the distance? You know, looking around, don't know where to go. His voice, it got raspier as the week went on, to the point that aides couldn't even hear him during mock sessions. And Biden kept asking for more cough drops. So yes, they probably overtrained him too. Here he is. You got this old guy. He's not feeling well. He's not all the way there. He doesn't have the energy. And they're prepping this dude and pushing this dude to get ready for a debate that they knew he didn't have a chance in. They knew it. So yeah, I mean, this is all fine. You know, it's all nice, but we've been knowing this for years now. Now let's rewind real quick. This is the same Kamala Harris who dismissed special counsel Robert Hur's warning about Biden's mental state as gratuitous. You know, she said it was inaccurate, I believe. She also said that it was inappropriate. As to what Robert Hur had said as the reason why they didn't continue, with the case against him. She even posted on X claiming that, as a former prosecutor, she knew better. And fast forward to now, and it turns out her defense was the real act lacking integrity. But anyway, after the debate disaster, CNN's Anderson Cooper actually dared to challenge Harris on live TV. He asked point blank what many Americans were wondering. We all had the same questions. Had she seen Biden like this behind the scenes? And her response, it was deflect, it was spin, it was deny. And honestly, this interview might have been the interview that cost her a chance at being president. This interview right here, she lost a ton of credibility. But then again, she actually lost credibility by even taking on the job. I mean, you call Biden racist and then you go join his administration? You called the man racist in front of everybody. And then a couple of months later down the line, you go join the administration. Her credibility's been shot. When she gets asked point blank, period, what happened? What up, Chef G-Rap? What happened? All she did, they asked her, had you seen this guy act like this before? All she did was deflect, spin, and deny. The tension was palpable, to say the least. And now Tapper's book claims that Harris was so enraged by the interview that she referred to Cooper behind the scenes as a MFer for not treating her like the vice president of the United States. Now think about this, man. She expected special treatment. Every time we see a Republican go sit down with one of these super woke journalists, it's never respectful. We've watched J.D. Vance. We watched President Trump sit down with Caitlin Collins. We've watched, who else, man? Byron Donalds go sit down with people on CNN. And it isn't nice. They're not nice to these people. They go in and they debate. They try to fact check. They push back. They overtalk. Like, yo, I'm here for an interview, but it seems like you want to be the show. She expected special treatment because she's a vice president and she's a Democrat. Really and truly, it's because she's a Democrat and a vice president, maybe because she's a woman. You don't talk to me like that. And that tells you everything that you need to know about the entitlement and the fragility of our quote unquote so-called leaders, especially those that are on the Democrat Party or in the Democrat Party. They expect softballs and lobs from mainstream media because they know that they got mainstream media in their pockets. Kamala Harris wasn't angry that Biden had a meltdown. She was furious that someone in the media broke ranks and actually did their job. Because here's the ugly truth. The corporate press, they did everything that they could to protect President Joe Biden. They did it. They were complicit in the cover-up. Former CNN anchor Allison Camerota, she even admitted it. She admitted that they joke internally about Biden's gaffes and stammering during live events. They laughed it off as Bidenisms for years. This is happening off camera. For years, they laughed at this dude. So while the country was watching a man visibly decline, they chalked it up as to quirks. While they watch a dude fall all over the place, can't put together two coherent sentences, they called it quirks and Bidenisms. But anyway, let's keep it going. Let's see what else she had to say. You know, when asked about the difference between Joe during the 2020 election versus the 2024 election. Let's take a look at it.
But the president of the United States was not able to make that case to Donald Trump on the stage tonight. I mean, you debated against then Vice President Vice President Biden 4 years ago, and he was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. You must, I mean, that's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A president who incites an insurrection against the Capitol. No, but I got the point that you're making about a 1.5 hour debate tonight. I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance in work that has been historic.
But whether it be infrastructure, the man who we saw on the stage tonight, is that the person you see in meetings every day?
The person that you saw on the debate stage that has, for the last 3.5 years, up until today, performed in a way that has been about, whether it be in the Oval Office, negotiating bipartisan deals so that we have an infrastructure, a real infrastructure plan where we're putting trillions of dollars on the streets of America to upgrade our infrastructure. Whether it be the person I see in the Oval Office who is meeting with heads of the military and the intelligence community and in the Situation Room, ensuring the safety of America. The person I see in Joe Biden on the world stage, convening world leaders who often ask for his advice, most recently just during the G7 conference. So I'm not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes when I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance.
But this was a debate that your campaign wanted. You pushed for this debate at this moment. Obviously, I mean, you can't honestly say, I mean, can you say that you are not concerned at all having watched the president's performance tonight?
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point.
John.
This lady is full of sugar honey iced tea, man. And shout out to Kiwan Lynette. I love this right here. How dare you embarrass me by asking legitimate questions and expecting the truth? That is it. That's it. Right there. That's it. How dare you embarrass me by asking legitimate questions? You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do your job. You only do that when you're talking to people on the other side. You don't do that with us. No. No, you don't do that with us, not me. So Kamala Harris clearly isn't taking lightly how the media questions the Biden administration's competence. She didn't take it lightly at all, especially on cognitive issues. The cognitive issues, they were a huge vulnerability. A lot of people, they were asking questions, and now we're finding out that even they were questioning it, on the other side of things. I mean, it's fascinating to me how tense the White House atmosphere must have been when even the VPs cracking under pressure. But here's the ugly truth. Here's the ugly truth. The corporate press protected President Joe Biden. They were complicit in the cover-up. Apparently, a former CNN anchor even admitted that they joked internally about Biden's gaffes and stammering during live events. And they laughed it off. They called it Bidenisms. For years, they laughed it off. While the country was watching a man visibly decline, they chalked it up and they called it quirks. But ask yourself this. If this would have been President Trump or any other Republican for that matter, would they have done the same thing for them? Would they have done the same thing for them? Had that been Trump or any other Republican president or presidential candidate? And the answer is a quick heck no. Of course not. Of course they wouldn't do it. When Trump tweeted something odd or fumbled a statement, the 25th Amendment trended on Twitter and CNN. They ran round-the-clock panels questioning his fitness. But Biden stumbles, falls off a bike, can't put a sentence together. Or they're incoherent sentences. It's just lovable Joe being Joe. It's nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. And now that Biden has imploded on the national stage, Tapper and his media colleagues are scrambling to regain credibility. I don't think that can happen. Their credibility is forever shot. And they know it. That's why they're capitalizing now. They're selling books. They're giving these somber interviews and pretending that they didn't play a role in this disaster. Tapper wants you to believe that, hey, he's just uncovering the truth and he's just finding out like you are. But where was the righteous journalism a year ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago? Where was the tough questioning when it mattered? We all know what would have happened. If Tapper or anyone else would have stepped out of line at CNN or any other mainstream media platform out there and actually seriously pressed the issue, they would have been blacklisted by Biden. They would have been blacklisted by the White House. No access, no interviews, no invites, nothing. They prioritize access over accountability. And now they want applause for telling us what we already knew. You didn't need to tell us that Biden was on decline. We got a chance to see it real time for ourselves. We got a chance to see it real time for ourselves. It doesn't stop with Harris or Tapper, though. The entire Democratic machine, they've been exposed. The entire Democrat Party machine has been exposed. And I'm glad that is happening. I am really, really glad it's happening. These people literally propped up a figurehead president, shielded him from scrutiny, and demonized anyone who dared to tell the truth. Anyone who questioned Biden's capacity was labeled a conspiracy theorist, a right-wing hack, or worse. But now, in this late hour, with Biden's decline undeniable, the same people who gaslit the nation for years are trying to rewrite the record. What we're witnessing is one of the greatest cover-ups in presidential history, at least in modern presidential history. Because there's been some situations where you've had presidents, have strokes and things of that nature, and either their wives or somebody else was kind of taking over. But in modern U.S. history, this is going to go down as one of the greatest cover-ups that we've ever witnessed. I don't know if this will be written, in history books. I highly doubt it will. It's at least school history books I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the history books in itself. I don't know if this will be discussed. I don't know if children will learn about this 10, 15, 20 years from now. They should. They should. The media didn't just ignore Biden's decline. They attacked those who spoke up against it. They attacked those who decided to shine some light and say, hey, man, something don't look right. They had one mission: preserve the left-wing agenda at all costs, even if it meant lying to the American people. And now, they want to pivot to Trump. And now Jake Tapper wants to demand Trump release his full health records. Now, all of a sudden, they're about transparency. They're all about it. Transparency matters again, all of a sudden. Give me a break, man. I mean, these people, they have zero credibility at this point. Zero credibility. None. They forfeited it the moment that they chose party over truth. They forfeited the moment that they chose to cape for the Democrat Party and do their jobs. So no, we don't need lectures about health disclosures from the people who ran PR for a president who was clearly in decline. We don't need moral posturing from journalists. Can we even call them journalists anymore? Can we even call them journalists anymore? We'll just call them propagandists who willingly looked the other way until it was time to cash in. They know their credibility is shot. Now they're trying to make paper off of it. And I would assume they're probably going to make money. I would assume that Tapper's book, if it's not a New York bestseller, it probably will be. But we all see you. We see you. We see what you were doing. We know what you did. Kamala Harris, Jake Tapper, CNN, the Democratic establishment, they all played their part. They chose loyalty over integrity. And now, as the truth finally emerges, they want forgiveness without accountability. They want applause without consequence. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It just doesn't work that way. You don't get to gaslight the nation for 3-4 years and then act like you're the hero in the final chapter. You don't get to do it. You don't get to do it. So many people are starting to come out and say, nah, man, we don't believe you guys. I'm done with the Democrat Party. You have so many people that are starting to come out. Now, they may not go full-fledged Republican, and I'm okay with that. Go be an independent. Honestly, I'd like to see more and more people be an independent. Get off that Democrat plantation, regardless of who you are. Get off of it. It is an evil institution. It's an evil institution. Eric Smith wants to know, how do you punish him? I don't know if we the people can actually punish him. I don't know if we the people can actually punish them. But what we can do is make sure that we get the word out so these people are ousted out of office. Now, what we do know is they got so many sheep on that side of things. They got so many sheeple on that side of things that they don't care. They're not upset that they were lied to. They're actually used to it. They're used to being lied to. But the rest of us, those that see it, one, we got to continue to call it out. And two, we need to get more and more people to see that, hey, these people are lying. They don't mean you any good. I'm not saying go vote for the other side. What I am saying is do your due diligence. Go be a part of what's going on locally and on every level in politics, and do your due diligence. Don't be loyal to one party. Do your due diligence. Understand who you're supporting. Understand what they support. Get an understanding of what they're about. and make a decision accordingly. Cheshire Insight says, don't buy his book or share. I don't have any intent on buying a book. I'm curious. I almost kind of want to read it, but I don't have any intent on buying the book. But I got a couple more stories I want to get into. I want to talk about this situation that's going on out in Ohio. Extremely disturbing. What's going on out in Ohio. There is a judge out there who many say is basically enabling chaos by releasing a known violent offender, not once, but this has happened again and again, despite his repeated assaults on innocent people. This young lady, her name is Judge Cassandra Collier-Williams, and her actions have led to an outcry from the very community that she is supposed to protect. This is ridiculous. I don't know what's going on out there in Ohio, but this situation right here is outrageous, man. Seriously. Check this out.
To the top of this newscast, victims who were viciously attacked by a Northeast Ohio man are demanding justice tonight.
They say he showed no remorse, yet the judge released him. 19 investigator Mike Mason broke this story and now has the latest.
This man, Cyrus Walters, was in court here earlier this week, pleading guilty to brutally assaulting 3 men, all within the same month. However, the judge let him walk, and now his victims are outraged, and they want justice.
I'm ready to get in this cop car and face my time.
Listen. This is body cam footage of officers arresting Cyrus Walters last year for assault. Earlier this week, Walters was released from jail after he admitted to brutally assaulting 3 men.
I was fairly certain he was trying to kill me.
Walters viciously attacked David Dudley last year in downtown Cleveland. Dudley's a criminal defense attorney who was here on business. He represents clients from across the country.
I have been in front of over 1,000 judges.
But the one who's baffled him the most is Judge Cassandra Collier-Williams. Earlier this week, Cyrus Walters pleaded guilty to assaulting 3 men, including Dudley.
He ran towards me and kicked me in the ribs and my shoulder, and then multiple times in the back of the head.
Dudley suffered severe contusions and a broken shoulder.
This guy is unpredictably violent.
During Walters' bench trial this past Monday, Collier-Williams reduced his felony charge to a misdemeanor, allowing Walters to walk the streets of Cleveland once again.
Judge Williams didn't even put him on any kind of supervision. The prosecutor was shocked at that.
Shocked, he says, because when Walters addressed the court, he failed to take responsibility for his actions.
He neither apologized to me nor any of the other victims he acknowledged attacking. He showed no remorse, not one shred of remorse.
I feel the judge let us down.
We'll call this man Tony. Surveillance video captured Walters beating on him in Tower City.
He broke my glasses, and also I had a few knots on the back of my head. I had a ring around my eye.
Tony says he's devastated by the judge's ruling.
She just gave him time served, which is, I think, ridiculous because I feel he's a menace to society.
After assaulting Tony, Walters was arrested and released the next day to attack once again. This time, he injured a man near Whiskey Island so severely, he required stitches.
I ain't do no crime, bro. We've been walking this whole time.
Once again, Walters was arrested and released. That's when Dudley turned to 19 Investigates for help.
There was no detective on this case until right before the story ran, when they found out it was going to run.
We obtained video from the city's surveillance cameras showing Walters stumbling down the street after Dudley's attack.
By placing that on your news report, we were able to find him.
Tony identified Walters from our report, and police arrested him once again. He was again released, then rearrested. This time, Walters spent 2 months in jail until earlier this week when Judge Collier-Williams let him go with time served.
The judge gave him the absolute minimum sentence that was available.
He's going to be out there doing the same thing again.
Walters was arrested again yesterday, just 2 days after being released. He now faces some minor charges in Garfield Heights. We tried to contact Walters and the judge and both the prosecutor and public defender's offices, but so far we haven't heard back. In Cleveland, Mike Mason, 19 News.
Come on now. Come on now. Seriously. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, like over and over again. What is he going to have to do to keep this man locked up? I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. So the man at the center of the story, Sirius Walters, Walters pleaded guilty to viciously attacking 3 different men in 1 month, including a criminal defense attorney named David Dudley. We're not talking about some minor scuffle here. I mean, Walters kicked Dudley in the ribs, head, broke his shoulder, and left him badly bruised. Surveillance cameras caught him stumbling, through the streets after the assault. But instead of locking this dude up, the judge reduced the charges from a felony to a misdemeanor. She didn't even place Walters on, supervision or anything along those lines. And this dude, he just walks out of court. Let that sink in. Beats the brakes off of somebody to the point that he actually broke bones. And this dude gets to just walk out. Let that sink in for a second, man. This soft on crime stuff that they got going on, in a lot of these liberal cities, man, it is not helping. It's actually doing way more harm to the people that actually have to live in those cities. This dude literally pleaded guilty to 3 separate attacks. Not 1, not 2, 3 separate attacks. Showed no remorse, no apology, didn't even try to explain his behavior. Yet somehow this dude was set free. And what do you think happens next? Of course, he does it again. He attacks another man, breaks the guy's glasses. He's got bruises, knots on the back of his head, a black eye. I mean, come on, man. Shout out to Jason Picaro with the $5 super chat. Says court records say he lives at 2100, a homeless shelter. Really, judge is hiding the real location from the public. We'll try GPD for FOIA and location. Appreciate the $5 super chat. I mean, this is crazy, man. It's crazy. Beat the brakes off somebody else. This judge released him again. And he attacks a man so badly that the next victim needs stitches. The police, they had to arrest him again for the 3rd time. I'm sorry I'm laughing, but this is outrageous. It's outrageous. How many of these needs to happen? I mean, what does he have to do? How much further does he have to go? Now, some people will say, oh, it's incompetence. No, this ain't incompetence. This isn't incompetence. This is ideology. Y'all see what's going on out there in California? Y'all see what's going on out there? It's the wild, wild west out there, man. You can almost do whatever. That is changing. You literally had people, I know y'all seen the videos, you had people walking into stores and just grabbing stuff and walking out. Like, come on, man. This defund the police or let's be soft on criminals, it's ridiculous, man. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan. But this is what happens, when judges see themselves, not as impartial arbiters of justice, but as activists on the bench. Kira Williams said that she became a judge to make a difference, to show people they had a chance. I want you guys to hear what she had to say. This is ridiculous, man.
Because it's also a way of kind of serving the people, giving back and trying to do what I can to really promote justice and fair dealings and that kind of thing. So I wanted to be a judge because I thought I could make a difference as a judge. I thought that it was important that, especially in criminal cases, when you have people that on one side of the bench, they can look at the judge and say, wow, she looks like me, then maybe I have a better shot or something. Even though, we're fair to everybody, I think it's important for people to see that sort of relationship, or see that sort of, where they can relate kind of to the judge, or better yet, they can think that the judge can relate to them. You may.
Shout out to Maroon Rider with the $5 super chat. Says they're is it? Oh, soft. Okay. I'm sitting there looking at that like, what is this AOFT? But I know the S and the A is right next to each other. Okay. They're soft on crime, so they can provide order out of chaos, which will be further surveillance and control of the populace. Yeah, I mean, that's what's going on out there in San Francisco. I don't know if you guys have seen the city of San Francisco, but it's a full-fledged police state right now. They literally have cameras and all types of stuff all over the place. You can't go nowhere and you're not on camera, out there. So you may be right there. They would like us to be Europe. A lot of these Democrats, they would like us to be Europe. Let's let things get so out of hand so the people demand that you do something. And the thing that they do is basically create these police states to where there's cameras and, you can't go anywhere without being seen. Obviously, they got the facial recognition software that's here and it ain't going nowhere. It's here to stay. And Aaron, you can't possibly condone this. I know you're not condoning this behavior. I know you're not condoning this behavior. I know you're not condoning what the judge is doing here. She wrong. She is wrong. No worries, Maroon Rider. No worries. But this is insane. But this judge here, what she has done is basically make a mockery of the system, and left people at the mercy of a man who clearly doesn't care who he hurts or harms. And these aren't isolated incidents. We're seeing a pattern. There is a pattern across liberal cities. Up in New York, the illegals out there, they were illegals. They jumped police officers, and these dudes were out of jail the same day. You jump on police officers. I'm surprised the police didn't shoot these dudes, but they didn't. And these dudes were out of jail the same day. This guy, okay, I get it. Maybe you could say, hey, one incident, okay, maybe first time offender, you let him be. Okay, I get that. But the second, third time that he comes in and he's causing like bodily harm, just beating the brakes off of people, old people. Like, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing in America where you have soft on crime judges and prosecutors prioritizing ideology over public safety? Seriously. I mean, you got people that are bending over backwards to justify releasing criminals under the guise of equity or second chances, while law-abiding citizens are left to basically fend for themselves. On the flip side of that, these places where they want to defund the police, or they're being super soft on violent criminals, not people who, maybe did a burglary or maybe some shoplifting or something along those lines, and you want to give them a chance. No, people who are committing acts of violence. You're giving them slaps on the wrist. Like, seriously, what the heck is going on? Let's be honest about what's happening here, man. The reality of it is this. Hey, if Sirius, if his name was Steve, and he was a white guy, I highly doubt, if the judge was conservative, I highly doubt they wouldn't, if that dude let this dude off the hook, there would be outrage. Y'all know it. The outrage, it would be deafening. But because the judge is black, letting a black offender off on the streets, if you criticize her or this dude's behavior, you would be considered racist, or in my, for me, being a black person talking about it, I'm going to sell out, Uncle Tom, bootleg, whatever, for calling out craziness. This is ridiculous, man. That's the trap that they got people in right now. That's how these ideologues, they hide from accountability. They use identity as an armor. And the reality of it is, this ain't really about race. It's about right and wrong. It's about right and wrong. It's about justice, man. It's about whether our leaders are making decisions that protect innocent people or endanger them. And in this case, it is crystal clear. Judge Kira Williams, man, she is failing big time in her duties. And unless someone steps in, unless someone is willing to say, like, come on, man, enough's enough, man. The blood will be on her hands when this inevitably happens again. And maybe the next victim may not be so lucky to just get some stitches or a knot on the head. They may not be so lucky to just get, a couple stitches, maybe a black eye, broken glasses, knot on the head. Because here's the harsh truth, man. She let this dude out. It will happen again. These guys, man, people like Walters, they don't stop. They're not even in the business of rehabilitating folks. He's not seeking redemption. They're using the system. They know it's broken. And I hate to say it, but I can already see the headline. Repeat offender, unalived Cleveland resident after judge releases him again. It hasn't happened yet, but if this continues, it's only a matter of time. You guys know it. And whoever it is, his family, I hope they see these articles and they see all this and they see her track record and they sue her behind for everything that she has. Honestly, maybe it's time we stop asking how we can fix this from the inside and start demanding real consequences for judges who enable violent crime. Maybe it's time that these judges, they face their own legal accountability for what they've allowed. This is outrageous, man. It's ridiculous. You see it here. You see it out here. Ridiculous. I got one more story I want to talk about, and then we'll get out of here. But I don't know if you guys heard, down in Lancaster, South Carolina, a couple weeks back, 6 undocumented immigrants, including 3 minors. They don't have their names, but they've been charged in connection with the shooting that left a young woman dead. Her children, have lost their mothers. Her children have been left orphaned because of a shooting during an attempted armed robbery in South Carolina. I mean, this is outrageous. No one wants to talk about this. This isn't making, mainstream media. Obviously, it goes against their narrative. But officers said that they found a 40-year-old woman, Larisha Thompson, out of South Carolina behind the wheel in her Honda Accord, dead from a gunshot wound. I mean, this is crazy. This young lady, mother of 2, killed by 6 illegal aliens. 3 of the 6 children, minors. This is ridiculous, man.
6 people, including teenagers, they're facing charges after a local mother was shot in her car. 40-year-old Larisha Thompson was shot and killed in her car off Riverside Road in Lancaster. The sheriff's office says the people arrested are tied to another crime as well, and because of their immigration status, they also now face deportation. WCNC's Charlotte Jesse Pierre is in Lancaster with the latest developments.
Larisha Thompson's life ended in tragedy, gunned down while she was driving down the road. Tonight, 6 people between the ages of 13 and 21 years old facing murder charges in this case.
People like this have no place in our society, and we will do everything in our power to make sure the full weight of the law is brought down on these 6 individuals.
6 people, including 4 teenagers, are behind bars facing multiple charges. The Lancaster County Sheriff's Office says, first, the group tried and failed to break into a convenience store, damaging a bathroom door and shooting up the security cam. Days later, they say that group shot and killed 40-year-old Larisha Thompson.
Somebody lost their mom, their sister, aunt, mother. Just a tragedy. This person is out doing the same thing you and I do, just driving down the road, minding their own business.
The sheriff says Thompson was driving down Riverside Road on her way to meet friends when the group tried to rob her. He says 21-year-old Azael Torres Chirinos is the one who pulled the trigger, hitting Thompson, leaving her for dead in her car. Officials say none of the suspects are in the country legally and should not have had the gun.
They took the life of an innocent young lady, didn't have the right to be here, much less commit these crimes here.
Detainers have been placed on all 6, so if any of them were to become eligible for release, they would be taken into ICE custody. In Lancaster, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Sad, man. That's sad, man. Now, of course, no, this happened, Kawan, this was in South Carolina. This happened in South Carolina, not North. Of course, we've had, Democratic Congress, folks, women, men, flying down to El Salvador, caping for illegal immigrants. Crickets when it comes to Larisha Thompson. Crickets. No stories on MSDNC, no stories on CNN. Crickets. Yeah, Outcast. The View won't touch this. They won't touch it. It goes against their narrative. Now, if that was a white man in South Carolina that did this, they'd be all about it. They'd be all about it. You know it. They'd be all over it. But no outrage. And Free Biz Network, I didn't know your folks were from South Cac. My people from South Cac originally. All down south though. But yeah, this is sad, man. Sad. I talked about it briefly yesterday, in one of the videos that came out yesterday, but I wanted to cover it today because it needed some, I think this is something that needs to be talked about. How many more of these, how many more of these stories need to be had? I had a video that came out yesterday, and Ari Melber from MSDNC, he's caping for these people. Caping for them big time. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. How do you fight for people that do stuff like this, man? I mean, granted fact, I get it. We have our own set of criminals. We just talked about, that in the story, prior to getting into this one, but this is outrageous. 3 of them children. I want to open it up. Give me 1 second here. Folks want to call in for a brief second. we're not going to stay on this thing too long. So if you do call in, please try your best not to filibuster the conversation for 35 minutes. But I am going to, want to open it up. We want to limit folks to about, we'll say 7 minutes, a call there, just so folks don't filibuster, unless I ask you a question. But Really? What's going on here? Give me a second, guys. All right, here we go. I'm sure you won't hear anything from BLM down there in South Carolina. I'm for certain of that, because that doesn't, it doesn't fit their narrative. It should, but you won't hear anything from them at all. You won't hear a word, unfortunately, because that's not what they're about. All right, I got the link pinned up there. Anybody that would like to call in, please do. I'd love to hear from you guys today. Yeah. Well, they're saying that they'll probably be, they caught all 6 of them. All 6, they have been caught. They're going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, but that means that they'll get, well, in South Carolina, they do have the death penalty. Now, the 3 young people, obviously, they don't have to concern with that. That's not going to be a concern. Uh-oh. Yolanda, what y'all talking about over there? Who's the bum Keisha? Oh my goodness. What's up, Dr. Silla? How you doing today? Summer Sky, you're absolutely right. The View don't care about black folks for real. Maybe. The Maroon Writer said maybe blacks will stop caping for illegals when Democrats tell them to. Yeah, you'd hope, but I highly doubt it. A lot of these folks, man, they're in lockstep with whatever they're told. Unfortunately, they're in lockstep. Whatever these people, whatever their Democrat overlords tell them, they will believe it. They will regurgitate it. It's crazy. Yeah, of course. Mainstream media is not going to speak on this. They're not going to talk about it at all. I mean, come on, man. I mean, when the initial address, that President Trump had, and they chose not to stand for anybody. They chose not to stand for anybody. I mean, it's crazy. All right, let me get my guy Aaron up in here. What's going on with you, brother?
Hey, Wise, what's going on, man?
And you know it. Maintaining.
Yeah, I had to pull up on you, man, a little bit.
I appreciate it. What you got for us today?
Well, I'm horsing around a little bit. I don't necessarily condone what the brother was doing to those people. And what 2 things you said that was important that could happen is that, one, he could keep doing that until he messed around and really seriously hurt somebody or kill someone, or somebody might give him what he's looking for and kill him.
That too.
So that's a risk that they taking. I'm of course I'm playing around. I don't condone nothing like that. At the same time, Wise, I'm fair across the board. You got to give, just like you treat some of those white offenders like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily have a problem with when they give a black dude a slap on the wrist, because they do it all the time for them other races. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I was saying what I was saying. But I don't agree. I don't like nobody. I hate bullies. I hate bullies.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Now,
That
I agree
dude
with you on
seems
that
like
too.
a bully. That dude is a bully.
What do you say to people that, like, and I understand where you're coming from, a slap on the wrist. I definitely get that. And even in this particular situation, I give you one. I'll give you one.
Right.
But three or four of these, like, come on, man. Like, as a judge, you got to say, like, okay, come on now.
Well,
like, I'll give you one. I'll give you one. Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe y'all got the tussling, y'all got the fighting. Okay, but there's a pattern here. There's a track record here now. 3 or 4 of these.
Yeah. Well, here's what the deal is. Overall wise, for yourself that there's a that's coming from up top.
Oh, absolutely.
They get their marching orders. Now she's a crash dummy. That's all she is. She's a judge, yes, but she's a crash dummy for the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And she's following protocol.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I do agree with you there. What are your thoughts on, and somebody mentioned it, I said it earlier, in a lot of these cities, where they've either defunded the police or they've just slaps on the wrist for everything and just let people, you can do whatever you want, to make things so crazy that the people come and they demand that you do something so they can turn it into a police state where they can, like what they got going on in Newark right now, because things got real crazy in Newark. And remember, they put all those cameras up and they basically got the whole city monitored. What are your thoughts there where they say they're allowing this so they can get to the point to where they can basically just take your rights from you? Everything's policed, everything's camera. You're on video on everything you do.
That is the point. You answered your own question. That is exactly that's been the agenda all the time. And to the point of, I'm going to say this, when people talk about how we don't call out the degeneracy in our community, if you go back into the archives of my program, I got on St. Louis, Memphis, Tennessee, and Chicago and places like that. I got on them hard about that. I said, if y'all don't stop with that violence, they're gonna that's gonna give them an excuse to come in there and declare martial law and lock cities down. If y'all keep on with that foolishness, don't think nothing slides over here. We call it out. Trust me, we call it out. It's just that it has to be a balance. It has to be a balance. If I'm going to call out X, Y, and Z, if I'm going to call out one side, I got to call out the other side. It comes straight up the middle with it.
No, I agree with that. I think the problem that a lot of folks have is that they'll say, don't say anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. I grew up in Atlanta. We know that there's craziness. And we also knew that there's certain places that you just don't go.
Right.
Like, nah, we ain't going over there. Like, we know it, but you can't speak it. You can't, speak against it, more or less.
I speak out on it, Wise. I don't care who get offended. I speak out on it. I don't care. My own people get mad at me sometimes. You know what I'm about, Wise. And sometimes people be like, yo, man, you're a little too harsh. No, I'm not. No, I'm with it. Because if you goofy, I'm calling it out.
It needs to be called out.
You understand?
But there was a time when it was okay for us to do so. I mean, you're a little older than I am. So you remember hip hop, late 80s, with Public Enemy and some of these guys calling out. Yeah, they were calling out the police, but they were also calling out the people that were basically causing a lot of harm in the communities. It was okay to do so. When you think about,
it was never okay, Wise, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
It was never okay with us. You know why? Because when you causing havoc in the community, now we out there, we hustling, we doing whatever we doing, we need things to flow a certain way. So the street cats would never let madness go on like that, unchecked. If you was doing stuff to cause the neighborhood to be hot, because now when you got all this violence going on, it's gonna bring the police out.
Absolutely.
Now we can't make our money. So we never liked goofy, dusty dudes. We never liked that. dudes that just carry on with senseless violence. What are you doing, man? You messing up the flow of the money.
Mm-hmm. What happened? What went wrong, or where did they go left to where it was like, you know what, guys like yourself that would be solid, and I understood, like, yeah, you still committing crimes in the neighborhoods, but at least people were willing to say, nah, bro, not around here. You know what I'm saying? My mom's lived down the way. Like, you can't be out here acting reckless like that. You can't be robbing people in our neighborhoods. Like, you can't be doing those things. Where did things go take a left turn to where you can't even call those dudes out no more, that don't even live by the code anymore?
Well, Wise, it's not one thing that happened. It was a number of things that happened to that culture. Now, I can tell you this, as a former street guy, the areas where we would be at, the residents there, they were safe with us, and they knew that. They were safe with us. Believe it, I'm telling you something real. I'm not just up here with no fluff. They were safe with us, and they knew that. We didn't allow certain things to go on. Kids let out of school, don't be out there. When, certain hours of the day, you can't be out there.
Mm.
And they knew that. They were safe with us. They knew what we was doing, but they knew they could count us to protect the area.
Mm.
Now, when I'm gonna be honest with you, when that 1994 crime bill came out, that took a lot of the real ones off the streets.
It did. Yeah, it did. It did.
You understand? Some of them brothers just getting out now. Some of them just came home 6 months ago, been in there 27, 30 years.
Yeah.
Rotting in there for
for petty stuff, for small stuff at
well,
that.
Not so much for petty, but you didn't have to be so harsh.
It didn't need to be that long of a sentence.
Right. One dude right here in Brooklyn with me, I ain't gonna name his name up here, but he got hit with 5 life sentences. 5.
Good Lord.
He just came home in 24. And he did 27, almost 28 years in there. And then he gave the time back. But my point is this, that the 1994 crime bill, along with people talk about our culture, the rap culture. The rap hip hop is a subculture of our overall culture. That's not what defines us. You understand?
I agree with that.
That is a
subculture. I would agree with that.
What happened with the hip hop and the reason it went left because the big time executives realized that, because at one point in time you had balance. You had your gangster stuff, but you had your conscious stuff. You had balance. Yeah. The conscious stuff didn't they made it where it didn't sell. So all the negative, the gun shooting and the how many hoes you got and how much cocaine you sold, that became the popular and what people wanted to hear. They made that way. Once they poisoned the culture, it turned around. You seen the turnaround because it was always a balance. You had dudes like who I know personally, like Eric B and Rakim and them. Their music was good music. Yeah, it was good music. It was positive. You understand? Yeah, absolutely. And Rakim was spitting. Him, Daddy Kane, Kool G Rap, I know him too. What's the other boy? Big Daddy Kane, Kool G Rap, Rakim, all of them dudes, man, they were spitters. Yeah, for sure. But see, when the garbage took over, and then as the decades rolled on, you seen the music get worse, because that came from the top. That wasn't the culture that did that. Now you got a bunch of renegades. When it comes to the street stuff, all of the real ones are gone. A bunch of renegades that needed tutelage, because had not been tutored the way I was tutored, I'd have been a stupid knucklehead out there. But I had people tutoring me and grooming me to not be stupid like that. That was taken away. Come the 90s, that was gone. Yeah. And then we roll into 2000, it's pure chaos. Mm-hmm. So, that the culture, the hip hop culture and stuff, that's just a subculture of our culture. That doesn't define us. Right there this past week in Greenville, South Carolina, the brother 803 Fresh did a show down there in Greenville, outside show. 7,000 people out there, black folks, not one fight. That's our culture.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
You understand? Them people was out there loving on each other and having a good time. That's our culture. I live right here in the hood, wise, in Brooklyn. Right around the corner, it's Negroes out there right now doing what they doing. I never have a problem. I live right amongst the hood rats and dusty dudes. I never have a problem. Because you know why? Even though I'm here, I live here, I don't involve myself with that. You understand?
Yeah. So you're a citizen now. Do they, but I think that's the issue. If you're not a part of it, you know what I'm saying? And you're not trying to be a part of it, you should be protected and excluded, from it. Although that is not something that is happening in a lot of these cities out there because, maybe it's a lack of police presence. Maybe it's a lot of these youngins, they ain't got no code, anymore.
This community I live in is over-policed. It's over-policed. But it ain't, let me tell you something. Even though these cats is doing what they're doing, it's not a whole lot of violence around here, believe it or not.
Why would you say that is the case?
Some, the kids fight a little bit, and it's a couple of shootings go on from time to time. But the way this community is policed, you understand? Now I come out, I don't never have a problem. They see me, hey, what's up, OG? What's up, Unc? I never have a problem with these kids, never. I never had a encounter with them that I couldn't handle or defuse it.
Okay, that's
you
good.
Understand? Now I'm not afraid of them. Now, if I was afraid of them, I wouldn't be bothered with them. But I understand, because I was that. So I understand the mentality. You know what I mean? So I don't. What they see in me is I don't abandon them in a way or shun them in a way like, oh, oh man, here they come. They got their bonnets on it, and they got their pants down. I don't want to be bothered with them niggas, man. I don't do that to them. If they open up for me to give them a critique, I give it to them where they can digest it.
Okay.
You feel me?
Are they open to are the youngins? Because a lot of folks would say, folks need to get in these neighborhoods, and have these conversations, with these people. Some folks talked about the church, going in these communities. Some people talked about, just older folks, that, have some wisdom to share. Are they receptive to that though?
They receptive to me. They're very receptive to me. Now the church has failed. A lot of these communities, the church has failed because they've disconnected themselves from these kids. And you see, when you take something away from somebody, you have to give them something to replace it. You can't just come and pull your pants up, take the bonnets off, act right, do this, do that, and I ain't giving you nothing. I'm just critiquing you. I'm shaking my finger at you and critiquing you. I'm not giving you nothing.
Yeah. You get no argument from me on the churches. A lot of the churches have dropped the ball, and a lot of it has to do is because that's not the church's agenda. We'll talk about the black church, but that's not their agenda. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you're familiar with Vince Everett Ellison, but he wrote a book called The Iron Triangle. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Vince Ellison. Sometimes I critique Vince Ellison because I think he's sometimes you know what it is? I don't want to be hard on Vince because at one time I was calling him a bootlicker, but then when I listen further into him, I think his heart is in the right place, and he's very critical now. He can be very critical, but
he's definitely very critical.
Huh?
He's definitely very critical, but he was also he was a correction officer. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like he's been in the trenches. He's got a chance to see it for himself.
And I think that's why I kind of respect some of his stuff, because he will keep it real at some point. He will keep it real. Now, when that Shiloh Henderson woman said what she said to that little boy, Vince Ellison, he said something that was very profound. He said, I don't want to have nothing to do with a woman like that. She was dead wrong. And that, you know, I had to respect that. Now, his partner, his homegirl, on the other hand, she
Leave
upheld
April
that.
alone, man.
Man, listen, man.
Leave April alone, man. She good people.
Man.
I didn't hear what she said about that particular subject. I didn't hear that.
You know,
but I think wrong is wrong. When you see somebody like the Shiloh, I didn't necessarily cover it on the show. A lot of people did, but what she did was dead wrong. It was absolutely wrong. I don't think, how do you get and condone that or cape for a person that does something along those lines? I don't know how you do it.
She did. She said it was wrong, but she said it in a light brush. It was wrong, but if he was acting,
I don't think you throw a butt on that. I didn't get a chance to see what she said. I don't think I watched that one of hers, but I don't think there should be a butt. I think there's as simple as what that lady did. Shiloh, I don't even know her last name, but what she did, it was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Her behavior, inappropriate. And I'm more along the lines of, you know, when I see wrong, I want to call it out, regardless of who it is. Wrong is wrong. You know what I'm saying? And if someone's doing the right things, let's applaud them for doing the right things.
That's right.
You know, but I don't think you get a pass just because, you know, maybe you have a certain amount of melanin or whatever the case may be, more or less. And I think that's a lot of the issue that I see, you know, at least, you know, in our community, is that when you see somebody out of pocket, because we know, like you mentioned, you hit the nail on the head. It's a subculture of people. It's not the large population. Even when they were talking about this whole black fatigue thing, I was like, it's really not black fatigue. It's really ratchet behavior. It's ghetto fatigue. Exactly. Yeah. It's really that, because the reality of it is, when you start talking about, you know, black people in America, majority of black folks are trying to do everything that everybody else is trying to do. You know what I'm saying? They trying to take care of their families. You know, they trying to buy homes. Everybody talking about generational wealth. They want to build businesses. Majority of black people are doing everything that every other citizen out here, just like every other community out there. There is a subset, a culture of people that are choosing to be reckless and ratchet, and it's them. And for whatever reason, for us, it got named black fatigue, but really and truly, it's just ratchet behavior fatigue. It's just ghetto fatigue. You know, folks don't, because when I see people acting a fool, I'm like, oh, time to go. You know what I'm saying? I'm like that. Time to go. Me and wifey, hey, let's go. I ain't even gonna stick around for this. You know what I'm saying? We don't even like the behavior. And I live in where I live at, bro. I live like South Baltimore. And if you know anything about Baltimore, you know, the ratchetness ratchetness don't have a color.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Baltimore's rough.
You go to certain parts of Baltimore, it's black people, white people. The ratchetness don't have a color. You know what I'm saying? And we see it. You see the ratchet behavior of all ilks. It don't matter. It ain't a color. It's a behavior. It's a culture that's in those, you know, in those neighborhoods. And it's a really small town, so it's neighborhood to neighborhood. You know what I mean? So you could be in a nice neighborhood and go, you know, a couple blocks, a mile up the road, you know, and it's going down, but keep on going, and it's not. And it's people of all ilks, you know, in these neighborhoods.
Very deceptive. It's a very deceptive demographic. Yes.
Absolutely.
Deceptive. Yeah. See,
you know, so when we see it, we don't want to be around it either.
Right. Well, you know, something wise, let me say this. Certain things you'll never catch me at. I'm not going to no cookouts that I don't really know the people that, because if I know the people that's throwing the event, and I know that they thorough in handling they thing, I might go to something like that. But you won't see me around here at no local cookouts or nothing like that, because I know the possibilities of what may go on. So I'm not going to be there, because before the sun go down, police will be there roping off the place with yellow tape and picking up shell casings. So I'm not going to nothing like that. You understand? People be inviting me to stuff all the time. And I'm coming. And they look up, man, I fell asleep, man. I make up some kind of excuse. But I'm not going to nothing like that, because the best position to be in when something happens and they ask me what happened, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's a really good place to be.
You understand?
Wasn't there. Can't speak to nothing.
I was there at 2:00, but the shooting started at 6:00. I was already gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, but again, wise, we didn't, in my time, we didn't allow certain behavior. Now there was times when it was territorial beefs and something like that, and it was wars going on. There was times for that, because that's when you playing in the street games, street stuff will happen, and some of that stuff goes along with the
yeah, but that's the game.
Right.
Yeah, that's the game. If you're a part of it, you understand the rules. You understand what you signed up for.
Right. But just willy-nilly and dudes just no, we didn't allow that, man. No, because you gonna make the block hot, man. You're gonna make it hot right here, and we can't get no money if it's hot. We can't get no paper. You freeze up the paper when the police is out and jumping out the cars every 5 minutes. You freezing up the paper. Now, if you're gonna do that, we're gonna get rid of you. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna get rid of you. You gonna be gone. We ain't gonna let you mess up this money. And then you got the neighborhood scared. You riding, killing everybody and got people afraid. Nah, you gotta go.
That's not a good look.
You gotta go. You understand? So that's, why that's what it is. But Vince Ellison, I like a lot what he does. I don't agree with everything, but he is a genuine dude. But your girl,
I don't think you should agree with everybody. I mean, is there a person that you agree with 100% of everything that they, stand for, believe in, talk about?
I got one brother. He does my show with me sometimes. He comes on as a guest. My man Malik, Big King, we call, me and him go back, got to be about 30, 35 years now. We met in the penitentiary. That's how we met. And me and him been friends ever since. And me and that brother, I don't think we ever had a disagreement because we came from the same cut. We cut from the same cloth. Now he's a little older than me, so I always had a revere for him as like a bigger brother to me. And he has checked me on some things, but me and him we've been having conversations for 30 years. And it would probably be an echo chamber, but that's because we come from the same, we think very alike. We think very alike.
Got you.
So we very rarely have disagreements. I don't think we ever had a disagreement, but I got some people I'm close with. We have disagreements all the time. But your girl, she got to go, man. Pack her up. That dude be saying, pack her up. She got to go.
Oh my gosh, Ed.
Yeah, she's horrible, man. She's hateful. And if y'all love her and have a thing for her, she has to tone down some of that hate because it jumps off the screen at you. But you claiming all this Christian and all this, but the hate jumps off the screen right at you. And when you admonish black people like that, there's nothing wrong with giving us some tough love, but it's a constant. And white people don't do nothing wrong. See, there's something wrong with that.
I haven't heard that from her. I personally haven't heard it.
When you're doing that, you're bootlicking, like your Officer Tatum and Jason Whitlock. You're bootlicking. And they looking at you like you stupid. You understand? She went on some local news channel, I think, where she's from Georgia somewhere, right? She went
I think she's from New York originally, but I believe she lives in Georgia.
She said. But I think she lives down in Georgia somewhere. I don't know if it's Atlanta or wherever. But she.
Oh, he cut out on us. All right, let me bring in Dr. Silla. He got to leave April Chapman alone, man. April Chapman's my girl. I rocks with April Chapman. What's up, Dr. Silla? How you doing this morning, sister? Can you hear me?
Hey, Wise. What's up, fam?
How you doing today? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Hey, it's good to finally, put a face with the name. I see your picture down there, but, it's good to, get a physical like Quincy was, last week. It's always good. Y'all see me all the time, but it's good for me. It's good to, get a chance to see you, man. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. It's, okay, first, it's Dr. Kyla.
Kyla, got you. Okay, okay. Well, I'm glad you corrected me now. I got it now, Dr. Kyla.
Yes,
got you.
Yes, I know. My name is Michaela, and It's spelled Micala, and everyone calls me
Okay.
Michaela. So I'm
I could
used
see
to
that. Yeah.
it.
Well, when you see the CIL, typically, like if it's a K, I would immediately have gone to the K sound. But with the C, you just think Scylla. But okay, I got it. I got you.
Yes, Kat, Kyla. It makes
Got you,
sense.
Dr. Kyla. I got
Our
it.
parents. Our parents be on something else when they name us sometimes.
Hey, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. I seen something. My wife, she's always sending me these real crazy videos all the time. And they were talking about names, and this person's name was spelled. Well, actually, I'm gonna spell it for you, and then I'm gonna ask you to pronounce it. SHITHEHEADA. How would you pronounce that name?
Shahida. Now you got S in your name. You got Ish in your name. Come on now.
So of course, the dude gets up there, and y'all excuse my language, but I gotta say it. So the guy, he's calling her name out, and he said shitheada. Because that's how it's spelled. You know what I'm saying? And she goes off on him. No, it's Shahida, this, that, and the third. But I'm like, if you've never seen that before, you're just, saying it how it's read. And she went off on him behind it, but I thought it was hilarious. I was like, yeah.
That is funny. I mean, you can't get mad when
like, come
your
on, man.
name
You know
literally
you got one of
says.
those names. Like, you got one of those names. Like, you know this. Come on now.
Yeah. But I didn't want nothing wise. I just wanted to pull up on you today because my hair is slightly done. So I'm like, all right, let me pull up a little. I just want to show my face and say, hey, everybody. I really enjoy your show. I've been enjoying
Thank
it,
you.
and I really don't know what we're talking about today, honestly, but
Oh, well, yeah, you joined on a little late today. Well, I'll kind of give you a quick rundown. So we talked about Memorial Day, obviously. We talked about Memorial Day, Trump's address at West Point. We talked about Kamala Harris, your favorite. We talked about Kamala Harris, how she went off on Anderson Cooper. And then we went into a judge out in Ohio, out in the Cleveland area, letting the guy, off. He's committing assaults and all types of things. She keeps dropping his charges from felonies down to misdemeanor and keep letting him out. He's committed, I think, like 3 or 4 assaults back to back to back, to the point to where he's, breaking he's broke a couple bones, so forth and so on. And then the last story we covered today was a young lady, Larisha Thompson, that was killed down there in South Carolina by 6 illegal immigrants. I don't know if you had a chance to hear about that, but we talked about that. It's just crazy. That's a crazy story right there. That one like really, really got to me, man, because it's just like, man, it's unfortunate, but it's something that shouldn't be happening. But yet you still have these people out here fighting for these folks to be here, to stay here. They don't want them out of the country, man. I got a problem with that.
I know, right? I am so sad to hear that story. That's when I came in on that story, and I was just like, oh man, like we got to do something about these illegals. Like this is America. We do have the right to bear arms. I'm
Yeah.
just saying we got to do
Mm-hmm.
something better to protect our communities against foreign threats.
Absolutely. I do agree with that. I mean, the thing is that the attacks that we've seen, typically it's been women that they've gone after. You think about Laken Riley, you think about Rachel Moran up here in Maryland, Jocelyn down there in Texas. It's typically women that they go after, obviously, for obvious reasons. They go after, the weaker vessel. And women are less likely to carry. Now, here in Maryland, you got to jump through all kinds of hoops to be able to carry your gun, as a citizen here in Maryland. But in South Carolina, it's open carry. Everybody's carrying. But women are less likely to carry, even when you guys have the opportunity or the ability to do so.
That's
and
true.
maybe that is something that needs to change. I do think I think more and more women need to go and take some classes, take some gun classes, firearm safety classes, things of that nature, and should probably consider carrying. I'm not saying you need to be walking around with a cannon, in your purse or on your hip, but hey, something, just a little something to get get some folks up off of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I live in Michigan, so we carry everything,
Yeah, you guys are open carry. But
Yeah.
are you in agreement that women, like men, we're more likely to carry, but are you in agreement that women, tend to be a little more apprehensive when it comes to carrying for protection
Absolutely.
purposes?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, um, I worked as a corrections officer and I learned how to shoot a couple guns.
Okay.
And then I went to the gun range just this last Memorial Day here with my husband. So and
Okay.
it was a couple females in there, but mostly, guys, they had the big guns. And but I did see a couple signs, like flyers for like women CPL classes and groups and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. We really do need to use that as a tool. Now I understand the hood can get a little ratchet sometimes, and people with their guns, and the gun violence is out of control. But we just need better education around it. We need better,
Mm-hmm.
use around it. And I mean, if everybody knew everybody was carrying, I think they might think twice about
Yeah,
pulling
absolutely.
out.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. And I do agree that the stigma around carrying a gun, I think that needs to go away. I'd love to see more and more women. I know out here, where I live at, they have a lot of classes that are just for women to get, more and more women comfortable with carrying. And I think that's something that needs to happen. And going to the range and getting together and doing those types of things, I think that's important, especially with what we have going on here. I mean, we literally have, millions of illegals that don't necessarily, kind of look at things the way that we see things here, in this nation. We also know that they're more likely to attack, someone like yourself, especially if you're by yourself. So I think it's one of those things where, I think the women in our nation needs to be a little more cognizant of what's going on in their surroundings.
Yes.
I don't think you should be out and about like that by yourself. The young lady, they said that she was in her car by herself. They didn't necessarily say what time of day it was, but my assumption would be that it was probably a little later in the evening. Maybe it was dark outside. She was by herself. She didn't have anything to protect her. And you got so many people that are just oblivious to the world of what's going on, not even paying attention to what's going on in their surroundings around them. How do you not see, sick people trying to creep up on you and you're in your car? What are you doing? Are you on your phone? So many of I've seen this with my own eyes, Dr. Kyla. I used to work in Baltimore City, and I used to walk, during lunch. I would always take my lunch, but I would go out and I'd go for a walk, in the neighborhood when it was nice out. And I seen this with my own eyes. Young lady walking down the street, middle of the day, on her phone, and she's in her phone like this, completely oblivious to what's going on around her. Young dudes come out of nowhere, punch her in her face, take her phone, and take off running. By the time she even realized that she had been robbed, she couldn't even tell you what the dudes looked like. That's how engulfed in her phone that she was. Now, mind you, this is Baltimore City. Now, we were on a nicer part of town, but still, this is the city. And the thing is that they take advantage of people that get stuck in these phones. They get, you know what I mean? Because you're just oblivious to what's going on around you. And you have a lot of people, that do that. Like, hey, you're scrolling on your phone and you're not even concerned with, what's going on.
Absolutely. You gotta, if you out in the streets, you gotta pay attention. You gotta be aware. If I'm at the gas station, I pull up at night, hey, I gotta get off the phone or hold on a second, stay,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like I
Well, I
need
try
to
not to
be
even,
aware.
but that's another thing. Be safe. Don't even get gas at night if you can help it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, don't even do it. Like, even for me as a male, I don't even get gas at nighttime for that reason. Because I mean, the likelihood of you being robbed or something along those lines, it's a lot higher at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night than it is at, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I normally, even for me, I try to go and get gas, during the day. And I try to do those things. I think it's a lot of little things. You know what I'm saying? That situational awareness, I think, is important. And if you're a young woman, and with as many women that we have in our country that are single, that are uncovered, not married, you know what I'm saying? You're fortunate. You're a married woman. You have a covering, but there's a lot of women out here that don't have that. and they don't have somebody that say, hey, you probably shouldn't get gas right now. Or if you gotta have gas, baby, I'll take your car. I got you. I'll go do it for you. There's no way I'm letting my wife go out and get gas in the middle of the night. Are you kidding? There's
And
no
if
way.
I'm in Detroit, I live in Ypsilanti, about 30 minutes away from Detroit. I'm not from Detroit, and my father was always afraid of Detroit. He sheltered me from the city. I grew up north in the country in this little
Well, for
black
good
town
reason.
called Idlewild, Michigan. We gonna talk about that later. Don't get me started.
Okay.
But
Is that Idlewild like the movie, like with Andre and them? Is that it? Same thing?
yes,
Oh
yes,
wow.
yes.
Okay.
And they used a
I didn't
lot
know
of
that was
our
a real
community
place.
references. It's a real place. They used a
Oh
lot of
wow.
our community references. They had a tour of the place. They knew what they was doing. But they put it in Atlanta. I don't even know if there's a real Idlewild, Atlanta or Georgia, but yeah, it's I do tours and I do historical tourism and I'm what you would call the official all liberal arts degree.
What does that mean?
I got sociology. My master's is school society violence, which I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. And my PhD is educational studies.
Okay. Well, at
Studies.
least you're honest. At least you're honest. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. What was it? You said public school. What was it?
School society and violence.
School, society, and violence. I think they just be making these degrees up. Like, what the
They
heck, man?
totally made that up.
I never even heard that
Totally.
before.
It's totally made up. They was like, oh, well, we made this for school counselors to get a better liberal arts knowledge. I'm like, you could have just gave me a school counseling degree, for that much. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to go back to school for now is my counseling degree so I can, I realized one thing from this election. There is a lot of mental health problems in the world.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we do.
It is
Yeah.
crazy, and people don't know Jesus. People don't know God.
We got a lot of that going on. I think that's what you just said there has led to the amount of mental health issues that we have in this nation. It's the fact that we're moving further and further away, from God, and his plan, and the word. And it's people are being opened up to, some of these, outside, forces. Now, the other thing too is that, when you have a lot of children, being born out of wedlock, being raised, in single parent led households, what we do know is that those children, they suffer from anxiety, they suffer from depression, they suffer from a lot of mental health issues. Those kids are also more likely to be abused, by either a family member or, a outside, individual that probably shouldn't even be around there anyway. Those children, they find themselves opened up. And now those children because we've probably had 30 or 40 years of that. And now these are the adults who are still suffering from some of those same, issues. And yeah, we definitely have a mental health crisis in this country. They don't want to talk about it. It's not being discussed.
Right.
And even the police, one of my best friends is police. And I asked him flat out, like, what do y'all do, when this somebody that's obviously suffering, they having some form of mental health issue, attack or something along those lines. Like, what do y'all do? He's like, man, if they've committed something violent, we got to arrest them. Sometimes we can take them to the hospital, but they have no advocates out on the streets to help. So we don't have mental health issues. Or not mental health issues, but mental health, asylums or anything along those lines. We don't have professionals out helping these people. Most of the people that are homeless, a large majority of them are people that are suffering from mental health issues. That's our homeless population. And then they turn to drugs and so forth and so on. I mean, it's a major issue. And for whatever reason, it's not something that's being discussed. And I haven't heard either side, Republican, Democrat, Independent. I don't hear anybody talking about what the plan is to solve the mental health crisis that we have going on in this nation right now.
Right. And did you hear that the fentanyl deaths are down in America now since the border
Fentanyl deaths are down.
process?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited. I'm excited about that.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. Well, that's what happens, when you shut the border down, when you stop allowing all these people, to flow through. And what people didn't understand is that not only were they allowing people to flow through, but they're also allowed the drugs to come up as well. So now that the border has been shut down, hey, can't get those drugs through.
No.
And the thing is, they also said, we were talking about this over the weekend, cocaine usage is down.
Wow.
And the reason why cocaine usage is down is because it's obviously an illegal drug, but because people are afraid that it's spiked with fentanyl. So people aren't using cocaine like that anymore for that reason, because, hey, it might be your last snort.
True.
It don't take much to kill you.
Right. And then, marijuana is legal in most places now. So, I mean, if you could do something legal instead of illegal that might kill you,
Yeah.
And not that our society needs to be completely high and zoned out all the time either, but
no, we don't need that. We don't need that. But I would take somebody, high on marijuana than cocaine or dope or something along those lines.
Oh yeah, all day.
All day long.
Yeah.
At least that stuff, it don't necessarily kill you. Unlike the fentanyl, that stuff, man, it don't take much. It don't take much.
You can touch it.
Yeah, you could touch it. Yeah. Yeah.
Just
it's not good. So I'm glad to hear that the deaths are down. It was so bad out here. I lived down the way from one of the police precincts, and there used to be a sign that when you would ride by, it would tell you how many overdoses, deaths, and how many actual overdoses. They took the sign down. That's how bad it was.
Oh,
They took the sign down. They was like, nah, they just took the sign down.
Wow.
I mean, every day, because I would ride by this sign on a day-to-day basis. Every day, that number ticks up. Every day. And I'm talking about hundreds of people, either ODing or, or just dying, from, these overdoses, man.
Yeah, we need to know the stats. We need to know the facts. Like they can't shelter that information from us, because if we don't know, we just fall into anything,
Quincy James says, "Wise, you live in the wire, bro." No, I don't. But this entire area, because it's a port town, this entire area has been littered with dope for a long time. So, and the buildings that were in the wire, those towers or whatever, they tore those things down like in the 90s. So they're not even here anymore. But heroin use has always been real popular in this area. One of my friends, they talk about it all the time. Like a lot of their friends, because I didn't grow up in this area. I moved out here. I've been here like 15 years, but they talk about a lot of their friends, that died. One of my really good friends, his brother passed away from an overdose. And the fent got him some years back. And I mean, it's just been devastating, in this area, like so many other areas across the country.
Yep. Yeah,
Sad.
I knew somebody who died from fentanyl, and it was just, he was our age, and it don't make no sense,
No. The worst part though is that they lace it with stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So a lot of times the people like you would hear that were overdosing, it wasn't really because they went out, to do fentanyl. It was because whatever it is that they was doing was laced with it, and they didn't realize it.
Yeah,
so there's been a lot of deaths, from people that, they like to do cocaine, not realizing that the cocaine has been laced,
Yeah. That's that escapism culture. Everybody wants to get away from, the troubles of the reality of their real world, but we just got to face the realities in our real world, come up with some solutions, not escape.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. I think some of it too is that we have it so good in here that when people do go through a little bit of adversity, that's kind of where they go, because we have it so well. We got it so good here, man. And, a little bit of adversity. And we've also kind of gotten away from it too. Parents, we try to do our best to kind of shield the kids, from going through a little adversity. When I was growing up, it wasn't like that. But, people nowadays, they're trying to do everything that they can to shield the kids, to keep them from going through something, not realizing that, hey, it's okay. It's okay to go through a couple of things. You need to learn. That's part of growing up, learning how to deal with adversity. That's part of growing up.
That is true.
Yeah. All All right, Dr.
But
Kyla. Well, I appreciate you pulling up, and it's again a pleasure get a chance to see your face. Send my regards to the husband.
for
I'm
sure.
assuming he's at work doing his thing.
Yeah. He's a mechanical engineer, applications engineer.
Oh,
So
awesome. Oh, okay. So you did good. Okay. All right. Now
yeah,
let
we
me
met at
find out.
college. We met at Fair State University. Met at
Now,
college.
why aren't you teaching the rest of these sisters to do the same daggone thing?
I'm getting there. I'm writing me a book. I'm starting my wellness business. I'm getting there. Because
If there is an issue that needs to be solved in Black America, we'll just talk about Black America. And honestly, we could talk about America in general, but we'll just talk about Black America. If there is an issue that needs to be solved, is that we need more marriages.
yes,
We
yes,
need Black men and Black women getting together on the same page, marrying and raising families like we did way back when. We've gotten so far away from that. And when you look at the Black community, especially when you start talking about Black women and 1 in 4 is married, that's a problem.
yeah,
That is a huge problem.
yeah. When I came to Detroit, after my dad told me not to, I still came here anyway because I'm curious.
Because y'all don't
Uh,
listen.
yeah, I don't listen. I'm in a sorority. I ain't gonna say which one. I'm a solo. Like I pledged by myself. Because they have a sorority house in Idlewild. They was founded on Christian principles and but I'm not real active. I'm not active.
Okay.
No, I'm kind of an outcast. But when I came to Detroit, I had sorority sisters trying to teach me, put me up on game, if you will, that you need multiple men for this, a man for that, a man for that, and that's how they live their life. That was the standard here, and I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I could barely handle one. Yeah, I talk about multiple, and that's one reason they don't want to get married. They want to have everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
No.
that's if there's anything that needs to change, that is something that I would like to see improve. In our communities. I mean, the wealthiest people in the country are married people. 2 people on the same page. You can't go wrong there. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see that. So, sisters like yourself that are married, those are things that need to be, discussed and taught, to a lot of these young people, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, well, it looks like the ambulance just pulled up by my neighborhood. There's always something going
Uh-oh.
on this block. I gotta go check on my neighbors. Oh,
All
the
righty,
fire
ma'am.
truck here too. What the heck?
All right, Dr. Kyla. Well, pleasure speaking with you. Pleasure meeting you as well.
All right, nice meeting y'all. Bye, fam. Love y'all.
All righty. Thank you. Take care.
Later.
All right. We have my guy Spaces in here for a brief second. He popped out. Spaces, if you want to pull up, I'm ready for you. What did I miss in the chat here? All right. Let's pull Spaces up. What's going on, Spaces? How you doing today, brother?
What's up, OG? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. What do you got for us today?
I just wanted to ask a question on what your thoughts are. So I wanted to talk about the Kamala Harris part.
Okay.
So first of all, thank God she didn't win.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking about when you were having a conversation, like what condition would America be in, or would the world be in if she made it into presidency? But my thing is because I think one of the main reasons as to why she didn't make it was because it was obvious that the entire Biden administration was lying to us about Biden's health. It was obvious, but they kept telling us, they kept saying Biden is in good health. Biden is in good health. Karine Jean-Pierre in the when they do a press conference, she would say Biden is in good health. You can see that he's healthy and all this stuff. So I think that's a contribution of why she lost. But part two is she had no economic knowledge that I saw in all of the times that I watched her speak.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You get no pushback from me on that. I mean, if you recall during the election when she, kind of got her chance to kind of take off, she was talking about an opportunity economy. And when people would follow up, a lot of times on the left, if there was like a softball journalist, they wouldn't follow up. Like, what do you mean by what do you mean by that? But there was a couple of times when she was in interviews and they asked her, what do you mean by this opportunity economy? What does that mean? And she couldn't explain it.
Right.
She couldn't explain it. She couldn't elaborate what her plan was. And that right then and there, I knew she wasn't gonna get my support no matter what. Cause I already knew. I'm like, this lady, she is as phony as all get out. She is phony as all get out. And I knew that from when she was running in 2020. And if you recall, she was on the Breakfast Club and she was talking about how when she was in college, she was smoking weed. Well, she said pot. We'll use her term. She was smoking pot and she was listening to Tupac. This was out of her own mouth. I watched that interview.
Yeah, I watched that too.
And I'm sitting there like, wait. Once I found out when she was in college, I was like, she was in college in the 80s, smoking pot, listening to Tupac. I was like, there ain't nothing real about this lady. Nothing.
Right.
Like, there's nothing real about this lady. You know, and then they pinned her on, I'm black. You know, and she finally came out and was like, yeah, I am black. And I don't know why people keep asking, because I am black. And this, that, and the third. And, you know, when you got all these videos that come out, you know, about how, you know, she was, you know, the first Indian senator and the first Indian this and and I don't have anything against Indian people. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I do have a problem with people who, you know, are lying or trying to use us, you know what I'm saying, to further their career, you know, on the backs of black people when you know that you don't have any interest in doing anything, you know, for black people. And then when you start talking about the country in itself, forget about it. She was going to do whatever the DNC or her DNC overlords told her to do. So if Kamala was in office, let's talk about this for a second. If she would have won, the border, you thought the border was crazy the past 4 years? Oh, it'd be even worse. It'd be even worse. We'd be on the verge of bankruptcy, of the nation being bankrupt. Crime would be going through the roof right now.
I can agree.
It would be crazy. It really would. The situation that happened over in India, the India-Pakistan situation, they'd probably be fighting right now because she had no ability. She had no sway on the public stage. Did you see her? This was probably maybe 2 years ago. She was over at a forum. It was her and the president of Poland. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but the reporters asked her a question directly. And she giggled and laughed and said, "A friend in need is a friend indeed." And she told the Polish president, "Won't you answer that question for me?" And I'm like, this lady isn't fit to lead.
Right. Yeah, and even with that, I was like,
it's a stark contrast between her as VP, and then you look at JD Vance, and when he went over to Europe, you know, for a couple of foreign conferences, and the way he handled himself in comparison to the way she handled himself, JD Vance showed himself as, hey, I'm the future president. That's how he showed himself. She showed herself as just some weak, bumbling idiot.
Right. Like she didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to answer the questions. And she doesn't have, like I said, she doesn't have any economic prowess. And what I noticed is it's when it comes to the Democratic Party, specifically as it pertains to the black community, it's like, you know, the horse races when they have a candle in front of a carrot in front of the horse's face, so they keep chasing after the carrot and they never actually get it. That's how I view when it comes to the Democratic Party and all of the stuff that they say that they're going to do for the black community, but never do.
Yeah.
They just keep dangling whatever it is, the cause that you want. They just dangle in front of your face, say, we're going to do this, and then when they finally get in position, they do nothing. So if you ask me, I would rather somebody not talk about my cause or whatever it is specifically it is that I'm concerned about at all, versus somebody saying that they're going to do something for me and I get them in a position to do what it is that what they said they were going to do for me, but they just completely ignore me afterwards.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. You know, and that's like, you know, last week, I think it was Monday, I was talking about this and we were talking about reparations. You know, I was discussing it, not in the sense of being for or against it, but the manipulation that they use. You know, they use this reparations as a way to manipulate black people to continue to support them. But every time they get into a position to do something like what you just described, you get nothing out of them because they don't have any intent on actually doing it. They have zero intent on doing it.
Exactly.
But here you have Summer Lee and Ayanna Pressley, and all these folks out here talking about reparations. Oh yeah, we're putting this bill out. You know that bill ain't going nowhere. Stop it. Y'all know it ain't.
Kamala Harris said we're going to study reparations. What?
Yeah. Like, come on, man.
So
like, stop it. Stop manipulating the people. And that's who the Democrat Party. That's who they are, though. They don't have any intent on actually doing anything to actually move the country forward. They don't have any intent on doing that. If anything, they want to see the United States more like China or more like what's going on, over in the UK, specifically what's going on in England. They want us to be there. They're in line with this globalist agenda. They're in line with it lockstep. And that's the difference, that's the difference between what Trump is talking about when he gets out there and he's talking about, hey, man, what we're doing is about us and it's about us only over here in the United States. If we can help some other folks, it will be after we do what we need to do for our people. And the Democrat Party, they're talking the opposite. You know what I'm saying? They're willing to do for everybody else.
Everybody else.
Hey, if you're a citizen, you don't got a chance. I got a problem with that, man.
Yeah, and that's why I'm such an I don't necessarily want to say a Trump advocate because it sounds like I'm like a cultist, but I admire the fact that he's focusing on America. I would even give Democrats a little bit of a leeway if they said that they want to focus all of that the immigration and all of the funds and all of the governmental subsidizing that they dedicated to all these illegal immigrants and revert that those provisions back to American people.
Absolutely.
I would give them a little bit more of a leeway because I still have my gripes, and that's a different conversation about government assistance. But yeah, man, I'll let you go because
what's your gripe on government assistance?
Too much manipulation.
Expound on that a little bit.
Well, so the way I view the government assistance from a Democratic versus Republican standpoint is Democrats teach they give a person a fish, and Republicans teach a person to fish. And if a person is going to be constantly getting provisions for whatever it is that they need or whatever their necessities are in life, why would they ever need to level up to the point where they don't need that assistance anymore?
You're absolutely right.
So yeah. I agree with the stipulations that are being put forward. I don't know a whole lot about it, but they're talking about limiting the amount of time that people can be on the assistance and all that stuff. Like, no, I'm all for it. Plus, it's a tax thing. People are getting over it. People are choosing to not work, and we, the taxpayers, are paying for it.
Oh, absolutely. That is the truth. I worked for tech companies for a long time, but I worked in staffing. And early in my career, we did half tech and we did half kind of light industrial. And dude, I would call people for jobs. And this is probably 2010, 2011. So if you know anything about what was going on then, we had the massive layoffs and things of that nature that happened towards the end of 2008 going into 2009. And then it was really bad. Like, economy was really, really bad because of the housing crash, right? So 2009, it was really, really bad. 2010, things started to get a little better. Companies start hiring.
Right.
Man, I would reach out to people for jobs. And now, mind you, this is 2010. So, a lower level position might pay, maybe $12, $13 an hour.
Right.
And I would have people tell me, I make more money on, government assistance. I get more money with, unemployment. I get more money with, with everything that I got going on, with my Section 8 or so forth and so on, than what that job pays. You know what I'm saying? And I heard this, and I would have people that would call. They would just call just to say like, hey, I called and looked for a job.
Yeah.
And that's it. They didn't have any intent on a job. And there was one situation where I was we were staffing for Giant, out here, I don't know if you're familiar with Giant, but Giant and Kroger's are basically the same company. Kroger's owns all the Giants. If you're familiar with the Kroger grocery stores. Giants was going through what they call a refresh, where basically they tear down everything on the inside and then they redo all the aisles and all that type of stuff, right? And they were going to every store on the East Coast. And I mean, they were paying pretty good, and they pay per diem and all this type of stuff. Right. And all you had to do was go through the interview process with me. We could hire you, and then just show up for work. Man, you know how many people were like, "Oh, nah, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't doing that." And I mean, the job wasn't that difficult. It wasn't hard work, and it was paying like I think it might have been paying maybe $15 an hour, which was in that time frame, bro. That was actually pretty good money. If you're making $15 an hour in like early 2000s, 2010, 2011, that wasn't bad paper for no skills and things of that nature. That wasn't that bad. You could afford an apartment on that, and folks would turn it down, or they would take the job, then wouldn't show up to work, take the job, work for a week, and then you won't see them again. I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny that when I fast forward to today's or recent times during quarantine, I know people specifically were getting $2,000 a month.
Oh man, dude, that was crazy.
Choosing not to go to work.
Yeah.
Choosing not to go to work.
That was crazy.
It's exactly what you were saying, because I hear a whole lot about the 2008, 2009 housing crisis, and I've never researched it myself, but I feel informed enough. But it sounded the same thing that happened around that time is the same thing that happened during quarantine. Just people choosing not to work, and government assistance is allowing them, putting them in a position to not work. And in a lot of cases, they're making more money than the people that are working.
Yeah, they were. That's why they could turn down a job. That's why they could say, "Oh no, I ain't gonna do that, man. I make more money just being at the house." Like, dang, you know. And that's the thing. Like, that's why, like for me, like I graduated college in 2008. And dude, it was crazy. I mean, it was crazy because I mean, people were getting laid off like crazy and this, that, and the third. And my first job out of college, I was there for 3 months doing a good job. I go in and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're laying off everybody." It's just like, what? This is like, golly. That's why, like, when the shutdowns happened and the kids that were graduating high school or the kids that were graduating college, like I felt for them. You know, I felt for him because I understood. I graduated college during like an economic downturn. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I understood exactly what it looked like. I understood exactly what it felt like. But I will say this, and I can't speak for the kids that graduated, you know, during the shutdowns 5 years ago. But for me, it actually shaped my life to an extent. And hear me out. It shaped me because it made me really, really appreciate when I did finally get another opportunity. It made me really appreciate it. And I wanted to go and do a good job to make sure that I'm not going to be on the chopping block if this ever happens again. Right. But it also forced me to really think about the way I live my life and the money that I make, not living to the full, you know, extent of everything that I make, making sure that you're safe, making sure you have an emergency fund, things of that nature, because I know what it felt like to be laid off. You know what I'm saying? And I experienced it, and I didn't want to find myself in a position to where if it does happen again, I'm SOL because I don't have any money. So it really, it shaped me. So I'm hoping that the people that did go through that, you know, in 19 or 2020, that I hope that those people that went through that, maybe it shaped them, you know, in that same manner. You know what I'm saying? I hope. Because Lord knows it did for me, but it really made me just appreciate when I did get an opportunity. It made me appreciate it, and it made me work my tail off to make sure that, hey, if the layoffs do come, I'm not going to be on that chopping block because I'm too valuable. That was my mindset anyway.
Right. At the very least, you'll be at the end of the list.
Exactly. That was my mindset, you know. But yeah, man, it's just so unfortunate because you have so many people out there living on the system. Unfortunately, you got a lot of women out there living on the system, strong, independent, don't need no man, but on the system. I just find that pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You know, that's going on. And if you watch the videos, like I did a video on it. Actually, I think I did too, you know, just talking about the Section 8 and all this other kind of stuff. And all the people that are complaining, it's all women complaining that it's going away, or, hey, I don't want to have to get a job and this, that, and the third. And just like, hey, I'm all for helping people that need a hand up. I'm all for that. But your hand up shouldn't be 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay with us, you know, helping you out for 2 years, enough for you to get on your feet. I'm okay with that.
2 years of government assistance is a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Because people don't think about it in the sense of, because you got to think they're paying rent, they're subsidizing rent or paying it all. That's food stamps, and that's also health care. And they're probably subsidizing the electricity bills and things of that nature as well. So, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, that's you're literally subsidizing somebody's entire life.
Yep.
That is a lot of bread, bro. And 2 years is a long time. But think about the people that's been on there for 12, 13 years, 15 years, 20 years.
For generations.
Generations, man.
You know what I mean? So that's
dude.
why
One lady said she was willing her. She was trying to will her Section 8 apartment to her kids. Huh? Like what?
There was a video going around where a lady was getting, and you might have seen it on the algorithm somewhere. It was a lady that was getting $4,000 a month in food stamps.
Oh yeah.
Like, come on,
yeah,
man.
That's crazy. Hey, these folks be eating good. Hey, and then think about that. Now think about that. These people not working, eating better than people that get up and go to work every day. I've seen it with my own eyes, dude. People buying, they buying crab legs and, oh yeah, these are lobsters. They eating good. I'm like, hell, I can't even afford to buy crab legs. Not that I even eat them like that, but still. Like, and that ain't even something that we even thinking about putting on the daggone on the grocery list, and we go to work every day.
And we work, see, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I have my gripes against it, because it's far too much manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah.
Well, yeah. All right, OG. And thanks for having me up.
All right, man. Appreciate you pulling up, man.
All right, have a good one.
All right, bro. Take care, man. Oh yeah, Dr. Kyla, you absolutely right. She said that they sell them stamps for 50 cents on the dollar. Oh yeah. Hey, I used to see these people. They used to be hanging out in the stores. They don't do it anymore because they actually, I know here in Maryland, they were locking people up before it. But a few years back, this was probably, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, you could, almost any grocery store, you'd walk in, you'd see somebody kind of hanging around the cashier, like, hey, I got some stamps, you give me, I don't know, are you paying cash or card, or, I'll give you, 50 cents on the dollar, something along those lines. You used to see it a lot, but it's illegal, and they've been locking people up for a long time for doing that here, at least here in this state anyway. That's something that they've been doing. But I appreciate you guys as always, man. I missed you guys yesterday, but I do appreciate you guys pulling up this morning as always. What's going on with you, Quincy James? How you doing this morning, brother? Hope all is well. But appreciate you guys pulling up. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Shout out to those that called in today. I appreciate you guys pulling up as always. I definitely appreciate that. And we'll be back at this thing tomorrow, Lord willing, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the plan, Lord willing. We got to do that. But we'll be back at this thing tomorrow morning. Hey, keep God first, man. Stay prayed up. It's crazy out here, man. It is crazy out here. I do have a couple super chats I want to read before I get out of here. Shout out to Crystal from Crystal Beyond Labels, joining the ARP family. Thank you very much, sister. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Thank you very much. Shout out to my guy Jeff over at It's Not Your Fault, Al-Anon Recovery Channel, with the $11 super chat. Said, line about being bused to school and working at McDonald's aside, she admitted the reason she called Biden a racist was because it was a debate. Yeah, she's a fraud. Yeah, Kamala Harris is a complete fraud. There ain't nothing real about that lady, man. Nothing. Shout out to Jeff with the other $11 super chat, another one from It's Not Your Fault, Al-Anon Recovery Channel. $11 super chat says, a stipulation for any government assistance should be passing a monthly drug test, full stop. Oh, Jeff, don't you say that, man. What, you gonna say these folks, they can't smoke their weed, do they little bit of coke? What you saying, Jeff? I ain't got a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they're like, man, what you want me to do all day? If I can't blaze, if I can't get high, what do you want me to do? Come on now, you can't say stuff like that. Drug tests? Oh man, that's discrimination. Thank you, Jeff, for the super chat though, man. Appreciate you, brother. All right, man, y'all stay safe. Enjoy the rest of the day. Jeff said, not on my dime. You can't say stuff like that, Jeff. That's racist. Making people do drug tests, making people get a job. Oh, that's racist. You can't talk like that. Goose says, y'all hardcore. Add out at no alcohol either. Ooh. Y'all hardcore. These people ain't got jobs. What are they supposed to do all day? You can't talk like that, man. Y'all are hardcore. Goose, Jeff, y'all hardcore, man. You can't talk like that. Oh, man. But I appreciate you guys, man. Y'all take care. Enjoy the rest of the day. I will catch up with you guys tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for ARP in the morning. Keep God first, stay prayed up. We will catch up with you all a little later. Peace.